Continuing our exploration of Journey of the Heart, The Path of Conscious Love by John Wellwood, Chapter 7, Vulnerability and Gentleness. When we first open to our pain, it often feels as though we are bleeding. Yet this kind of emotional bleeding helps awaken the heart, allowing vital energies in us that become more coagulated to circulate again. To let our pain move in this healing way requires awareness, courage, and gentleness, being present with the pain instead of believing scare stories in our mind about where it might take us, opening ourselves to the place where we hurt inside, bringing a caring presence to it, and letting those we love see it as well. In this way, by helping us connect with our warrior spirit, pain can become a friend and an ally. Thus, when Tracy fully felt her disappointments that Mark wasn't everything she would like him to be, and let this touch her, she realized we each have differences and imperfections that hurt each other, yet there is nothing wrong with feeling that pain. It makes me feel my heart's blood, my openness to myself, to him, and to love itself. In proclaiming her vulnerability in this way, Tracy was stepping beyond her fear of pain and heartbreak. Unfortunately, the word vulnerability has a pejorative meaning in our culture. Associating it with weakness and powerlessness, we often think of a vulnerable person as someone who is overly sensitive to being hurt or offended. Yet sensitivity to offense is something quite different from the genuine vulnerability of letting our heart be exposed. The ego is always fragile and easily wounded. It is a brittle shell or a facade, a pretense that we are in charge, that no one can get to us, and that we are captains of our fate. It is a fragile because life is always threatening to expose our presence of having power over life. By contrast, acknowledging our basic human vulnerability, our openness to reality, is a source of real power. In fearlessly allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, we embody the bravery and gentleness of a true warrior. Always before, Tracy had tried to make her partners meet her emotional needs in devious, indirect ways. She would avoid starting her real feelings and needs openly because she did not like to feel exposed. It was much safer to manipulate her partner into giving, blame them when they failed to do so, or just withdraw. In every relationship, there are times when one partner wants to connect more deeply, but the other is not as emotionally available at the same time. At first, when Tracy experienced this with Mark, she would feel hurt and then protect herself, attack, or hold it against him. Then, as her hurt and resentment built up, she would start to think about leaving him. Yet, in learning to be compassionate towards the vulnerable part of herself where she felt hurt by Mark's unavailability, Tracy could let these hard defensive edges fall away. When she softened to her pain, she could simply tell Mark about it instead of holding it against him or shutting down her love. Expressing her needs more openly rather than manipulating or accusing him allowed her love to keep flowing. And when she felt stronger, no longer did she have to live in fear of pain or feel victimized when she got hurt. In this way, through making friends with our vulnerability, we discover a new kind of flexibility and power. We usually think of vulnerability and gentleness as the opposite of power. Yet the softening that happens when we work with our pain can be quite compelling and influential. We become like water. We can generate electric power precisely because it flows so willingly, without resisting gravity or the contours of the land. Water is extremely vulnerable in a sense. It is soft, it does not resist the touch, it can be molded into any shape, and it receives whatever we put into it. Yet, for wearing down what is hard and tough, nothing surpasses it. Just as water, which is so soft and accommodating, can reduce the hardness of the rocks to sand, similarly, gentleness is one of the most irresistible human qualities, and can penetrate even the hardest of hearts. Whereas hardness stirs up aggression, gentleness provides nothing to resist. So when Tracy could show her vulnerability by saying, "I want to feel close to you right now," or "I just need to feel your love," Mark could not resist her, because she was so appealing at that moment. He would often want to put aside his self-involvement and give her what she asked for. And when she could expose her pain, "It really hurts me when you get so tight," instead of trying to get him to change, this usually made him soften. No longer was she the fussy princess expecting him to be the perfect prince. In learning to appreciate and trust her broken, open heart, Tracy felt more connected with life than ever before, and more capable of handling the challenges of an ongoing relationship. This was a tremendous victory, which only made her stronger and more attractive. Men particularly had a hard time seeing that their willingness to be vulnerable is often what touches women the most. They imagine that it is a sign of weakness and that it will be led to scorn or rejection. However, as one woman friend of mine put it, "I find it quite magnetic when a man lets me see his vulnerability. It only turns me off if he tries to get me to reassure him about feeling that way. If he just presents it openly, I find that courageous and admire him for it." What she is saying is that ego fragility, trying to cover up the rawness of one's heart, is unattractive, while fearlessly revealing it can be most appealing. Excuse me. The mystery of love. Thus the rawness of the broken open heart, which begins in moments of disillusion, is a transmuting force in the alchemy of love. When we let our heart break open, a certain sweetness starts to flow from us like nectar. As the Sufi teacher Hazrat Inayat Khan put it, the warmth of the lover's atmosphere, the piercing effects of his voice, the appeal, all his words all come from the pain of his heart. This is one of the great secrets of love. Instead of trying to ward off this pain, which is fertile anyway, the lover can use it to transform himself, to develop invincible tenderness and compassion, and as the troubadour is discovered, become a gentle man, as well as the heroic warrior in the service of love. Letting the heart break open awakens us to the mystery of love, that we can't help loving others in spite of the pain they cause us, for no other reason that they move and touch us in ways that we can never fully comprehend. Indeed, if those we love perfectly matched our ideal dreams, they would not touch us so deeply. What we love is not just their pure being, but also their heart struggle, with all the obstacles in the way of its full, radiant expression. Although their imperfections cause us pain, they also give our love a greater purchase, a foothold, something to work with. It is as though our heart wants to ally itself with the heart in those we love, and lend them strength in their struggle, to realize the magnificence of their being, beyond all their perceived shortcomings. So just as rocks in a stream accentuate the force of the water rushing against them, the obstacles to perfect romance can help us realize the power of our capacity to love. They force the heart to stretch so that it can embrace all of what we are. This, more than finding the perfect relationship or having someone give us everything we want, is what heals us. Blessed be. That's the end. Thank you. Okay, that's it from me. Don't forget to check the links down below. Check the links on my channel. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you know when the next video will be uploaded. Take care and blessed